I guess. I guess this is gonna be another simping for Joe Biden video. Got this off of Fox News. Biden's approval ratings keep slipping in wake of Afghanistan exit COVID surge poll. His polls remain underwater in celebrates following turbulent Afghanistan withdrawal, Delta variant, fuel COVID spike. His approval rating stands at 42%, disapproval at 50%. A Quinnipiac University study conducted September the 10th, September the 13th. Significant drop from their previous national poll in early August, when the president stood at 46% approval to 43% disapproval. The first time his job approval has dropped into negative territory in Quinnipiac polling since the start of his presidency in January. I once again feel bad for Joe Biden. I know he's the establishment, and I never thought I would look at the world this way. I never thought I would, it's things in my life, spiritual matters I'm concerned with now that have kind of grounded me a little bit. Joe Biden is the last man holding the ball. He didn't start the war in Iraq. He didn't start COVID. He didn't drop the ball on COVID. He did not create the economic circumstance we're living in now due to the COVID crisis. Joe Biden hadn't even been president an entire year. I've talked about how Trump created a monster that now even he can't control. How even when Trump talks about let's get the shot people in Alabama, people booed him. I feel for Joe Biden because you're watching the end of the American empire, and you have people in there that care and want to keep the country going, and there's people in this country that there's a deep division in this country, and that division is based upon disbelief of basic science and of basic facts, and when that happens, your country's gone. It's sad to think that maybe he had a chance, that maybe in a reasonable society people would recognize his legitimacy. I mean, a lot of people thought that getting him in office, he would be accepted because he was for Obama. He was Obama's vice president. He's the establishment. He's not a communist. And Trump was just, it's a communist insurrection. They're trying to take over the country. He was laying the roots, the seed to that. He was sowing the seeds of division. And that's why he had in Kamala Harris, the black attorney general. I'm not a communist. I got a top cop here with me. It is definitely sad to realize that him doing the right things. Cause look, man, all Joe Biden is doing is telling the kids to eat the broccoli. That's all. I mean, you're realizing, you have to realize that over history, Democrats have always been this. We've always been the ones to clean up the mess. The 2008 recession was not Obama's fault. It wasn't. It's we're left holding the ball, and it's like you had back then with the racism. Don't get twisted. Just like you had the racism on Obama, you have the same thing with Joe Biden with the communist stuff. Because it's like America is a right-wing nation, culturally. And anything that deviates from that right-wing ideology is itself communist. You have to understand that. That isn't just Trump's rhetoric. That is like deep in the veins of the American consciousness. The national soul, or whatever you want to call it, it's there. It's definitely there. And I was looking at a video. Sam Cedar was talking about how the abortion thing goes back to what was it, Bobby Jones College segregation that was deemed to be unconstitutional or whatever, and they had to find something to gather around, so they picked abortion. It really does seem to me like this is like the predominant culture, and I just think it's so tragic, so sad to realize that it's almost like even if you were to get an AOC or someone who was really visionary and forward thinking and progressive, and you really ever got them in like the presidency or Department of Labor or something, it's like that wouldn't be good enough because they would have so much work just getting America to zero, just getting America to like where the rest of the world is when it comes to social programs, when it comes to just a good life. I mean, I would definitely want my kids to learn about the history of labor. I've talked about this before that um, you have this great forgetting in America that we forget about how we got to where we are now, how people died to give you the 40-hour work week, the MSDS thing. They have to show you. They have to put out there your labor laws and your rights in a conspicuous place. The MSDS is any chemicals in warehouse. They got to tell you what it is. Um, unemployment insurance, public school. That's not labor, but I would want my kids to learn that because it's like the right is always saying we've gotten better. No, you haven't. People fought and died to get us where we are now, and I just feel like the left is so much. We're just fighting to keep the country in the present, and that's what Trump was doing when he spoke in Alabama and told them about getting the shot. Effectively, he was trying to bring them into the present. It's like for a huge segment of this population of America, it's like they don't live in reality. I understand why Trump did that with the vaccines because deep down he knows the vaccine is the only way out of this crisis. He knows that masks and all that are the only way out. What I am putting forth to you in my videos is that what the right wing does isn't about Christianity. It isn't about family values. It isn't about national pride. It isn't about protecting white children. It isn't about any of that. None of that. They're putting forward lies. They're promoting lies in such a manner to buy time. They're always buying time. Well, climate change isn't real. And if it is, look, it's so far in the future. Well, I don't believe in this stuff. It's always buying time. They're always buying time. And there's also a thing there that all the government programs designed to protect in a pandemic, to protect in an emergency, that's going to be to poor people, and they don't care about poor people. That's why that's why there was Trump getting rid of the pandemic response team. That should be an outrage. People should be burning shit in the streets. That's like me taking the plates out of a policeman's body armor and putting in like fake plates. And then that day I do it, he goes and gets shot. I need to go to prison for that. Like that's some shit right there. I set him up. The very thing it wouldn't have saved his life necessarily. He could have still died, blunt force trauma and such. But that device could have saved his life. Possibly. Just like I mentioned before, I used the rhetoric of the fire station. The fire station down the street from me, they got trucks. If someone took the air out the tires and there was an emergency, we need that truck. We need an apparatus to get going. And because it happened, now we're delayed. I think that I think there is a disdain for working classes. And I think the right doesn't really care about the working classes. I think the right, all they have for them is training bathrooms and Trump talking about they're taking down the Confederate statutes to put up a statue of Al Sharpton. Where'd that come from? A little slick racism. Trump talking about very fine people and good genes. Come on, man. There's always that little, and I think that I just think it's sad. I think that Joe Biden is doing some good things. I think he had some good intentions, and I think that unfortunately in America at this time that's not enough. It's not enough. And the fact that during a pandemic that's killed so many people, and now it's killing kids. I remember when it first happened, there were New York firefighters dying. That scared me. That when I saw that, yeah, New York firefighters and these dudes was in shape, and when I seen that, I knew this was real. I knew this was real. This wasn't just something killing weak people. That's just stuff the right uses. There's always that DIY on the right. That, well, the people that are getting hurt by this are people who aren't saving their money, or they're thugs, they're criminals, they're engaging in homosexual activity, they're druggies. That there's always this sense of self-righteousness with the right. Or we'll just take our vitamins. I work out every day, so I'll be saved. There's always, and as a gentleman told me, that the Republican Party is always playing to they're always playing to the unaffected members of society, which is white, real people, who don't understand these crises, who don't want to understand these crises, and have no need to. The AIDS crisis back in the 80s is a great point of that. We don't know any black people. We don't care about any black people. And if they're gay, they deserve to die. I just think that, once again, it's very sad. It's very tragic. And it's another clear reminder that America can't be fixed. You can't fix this country. You can't save this country. Too many people have already given up. And too many people would rather run around with guns and vests and flaunt their white privilege than engage in responsible governance, to participate in responsible governing. They'd rather talk about voting systems being rigged anytime they lose. This recent recall election against Gavin Newsom in California is a clear example of this. This cat, Larry Elder, was talking about giving white people reparations for slavery. That if he had his way, he wouldn't have voted for the '60s Civil Rights Bill. I mean, this I don't like to use that term "coon" on these videos, but that actually makes me almost want to hate him as a person. I know that's not right. We're ordered. We ought to love even our enemies. Anyway, thank you for listening.